Thank you again. I am here with Parker Sapp, the brand manager for Final Fantasy 13-2. It's quite a lot of numbers. Final Fantasy 13-2 is the sequel to Final Fantasy 13.
Correct, yeah. It starts off right after 13 ended. There are appearances from Lightning, characters people will remember, but at least for the E3 demo we're showing today, most of what we're talking about revolves around Sarah, Lightning's younger sister, so you get to see a little bit of her and get into it that way.
And she was an NPC in the first game, right? But we were going to be able to play her now, right?
Correct, yeah. She was engaged to Snow, one of the other characters from 13. We're kind of putting that off to the side for now and dealing with this story of her actually finding Lightning, tracing her down. We have a new character we've announced also called Noel, who's going to be fighting alongside Sarah throughout the demo. Great.
Now, one of the big things about Final Fantasy 13 was how linear the gameplay was. Is Final Fantasy 13-2 going to be a little bit more open? Are we going to be able to sort of choose our own path, as it were?
You bet. The demo that we're showing, the map that we chose for a reason. It's got a lot of options of where you can go, different pathways, kind of side missions, not necessarily a distinct mission, but things that you can do, options for we'll have 2 objectives you can choose between and go at your own pace. So, I think we've definitely tried to add a lot of variety, options in combat. We're going to be announcing more features later on that'll get to that a little bit more clearly. For now, we just encourage anybody who's got a chance to go hands-on at E3 to check that out, go to little nooks and crannies, see what's going on there. There are even a few Easter eggs the dev team hid in there, so try to find that stuff and get involved with it.
Well, speaking of features for the games, one of the things I understand is that the combat has been tweaked a little bit. Can you talk about how it's a little bit different than Final Fantasy 13?
Yeah, we're going to continue to roll out features there, but the main one that we've announced so far, or that you'll see articulated through the demo, is that you can fight monsters, obviously, in battle, but you can acquire them into your party now. Once you fight them, they'll appear as a little crystal. They'll then be added to your party roster. And for the purpose of the demo, it's all going to be automatic. They'll assign them for you. But what will happen is that in battle, then, you'll be able to choose between them as you choose your paradigms, that main battle system function that we had from 13. So we try to add a lot of variety there, let players kind of tweak what they're doing, affect the battle that way.
And if you're someone who just wants to play through the story, is there a way to automate that so that the computer chooses all that information for you, or are you always going to be really in charge of all your tactics?
The option is there. We're not showing much about how the back end of that system works yet at E3, but in the same spirit as 13, it's all about trying to make sure that a player who wants to work at a quick clip can kind of do that, can set things up once or a couple times and just keep playing the game as they want to play it.
Very cool. Now, I know that most of the Final Fantasy games are sort of their own self-contained universe and nothing really goes outside of them. Is sequel something that Square Enix is wanting to sort of expand on now with the Final Fantasy universes?
I think we've done one sequel in the past with Final Fantasy X, and that was really an attempt to try and build out the characters a little bit more, the 3 characters that returned. Same spirit for Final Fantasy 13 too. We really feel that there's a lot more story to tell with Sarah, with Lightning, and we want to get that across. So it's not necessarily to say that the company's direction has changed in broadening these worlds. It's really just that there was so much content in 13 that we couldn't get to. We want to make sure that we can really illustrate that.
Was that something that was always planned from the beginning for Final Fantasy 13 to always expand on it with a sequel, or is this something that after it was released you guys said, oh my god, there's so much more story to tell, it's such a rich world that we really feel that a sequel is called for?
I think ultimately it came down to the success of 13. It was incredibly successful for us in North America, in Japan, in Europe, and so I think combining the fact that we knew people were playing and they wanted to play more, and the fact that we had so much more to tell, I think that's where the decision came from.
So that means in 3 years we're going to have Final Fantasy 13-3 is what totally is going to happen, right?
You can draw your own conclusions from there. We're not announcing anything obvious.
All right, fair enough. Well, thank you very much, Parker. This has been great. I can't wait to get my hands on it. Do you have a favorite thing that you're looking forward to once the game goes?
There's another little part of the game that we're showing behind closed doors. We can't show you yet, but it's very visually impressive. Maybe you'll see a little bit picked up here and there, and we'll have more about that in September at TGS.
All right, I'll sneak in then and try and figure it out.